definition of depression. Robin Williams had millions, was loved by millions, and was living a life most people only dream of. And yet, he took his own life. Some, if not most of you, may know of Robin Williams, and that he suffered from depression. According to the DBSA website and their article Depression Statistics, who was affected by depression, major depressive disorder affects approximately 14.8 million American adults, or about 6.7% of the U.S. population age 18 or older in a given year. According to the National Institute of Mental Health Depression website, last revised March 2016, depression is one of the most common mental disorders in the U.S. Current research suggests that depression is caused by a combination of genetic, biological, environmental, and psychological factors. Depression is an illness that gets overlooked. It is important to know what causes depression, what impact it makes on others around a person with depression, and the treatment and prevention of the illness. Medically speaking, depression is caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain. A family history of depression may increase the risk. It's thought that depression is a complex trait, meaning that there are probably many different genes that each exert small effects rather than a single gene that contributes to disease risk. No one knows exactly what causes depression, but it can occur for a variety of reasons. Abuse, certain medications, conflict, death or loss, and genetics all can be reasons. According to Tracy Booth, a personal interview, March 9, 2016, medically speaking, it is a chemical imbalance in the brain. Which chemical or hormone determines type of depression? I'm not sure if it's genetic. Doctors have been arguing this for years, but I think my family history makes it pretty evident that it's some form of genetics. If it was environmental, then my sister and my mom would be depressed. This is a slide of Tracy Booth's family history. Tracy's dad was diagnosed with bipolar manic depressive when Tracy was 12, which means that when he was happy, he was really happy, and when he was down, he was rock bottom, which affected everyone, usually his family. Hiding depression is exhausting, which is why most people don't know you have it, but those who live with you know different. You no longer have to hide it and you let it all out. Tracy's dad was angry and wanted everyone to feel bad too. After he had a mild breakdown, he was diagnosed and treated. He's doing a lot better now. He tried to take himself off his meds, which is a big no. Once you start taking a medication, your brain stops producing that hormone. So when you quit, you tap out and your body is missing vital emotional hormones or chemicals. You have to wean yourself off. Tracy's dad has 6 sisters and 3 brothers. All of them have had some form of depression. 4 out of Tracy's 6 aunts have passed away with Alzheimer's, and the other 2 are living with differing levels of Alzheimer's. Tracy said she's not really sure the connection between Alzheimer's and depression, but she finds it interesting. Tracy has 1 sister and 4 brothers. Tracy and 3 of her brothers are being treated for depression. By knowing Tracy's family history, I think we can come to the conclusion that depression very well, most likely may be genetic. Throughout discovering the causes of depression, many can be wondering, how does a person with depression and their disorder affect others around them? The second point I will discuss is the impact of depression on a person and how their disorder affects others. Those around a person with depression is usually family and friends. Depression disorder also causes there to be guilt and isolation. Tracy, who suffers from depression, said, "Some days I just want to be left alone, which leads to guilt. There's a negative voice in my head that tells me I'm not good enough or no one wants me around. It's a battle in my head, and try explaining that to your loved ones who've never had experience with it. It doesn't go over well, which leads to even more guilt." Family and friends are usually affected by someone who has depression disorder. Once diagnosed with depression, the relationships they once shared won't be the same. Therapy is useful and isn't limited to the depressed patient themselves. Significant others, children, and even friends can benefit if they understand more about the disease. The best way for them to be relieved of the stress is to help the patient toward recovery. This means getting the person into treatment, if he or she isn't already, and remaining supportive, no matter how difficult that may be. Friends and family must remember that their loved one with depression did not ask for the illness. It's not a character flaw, and their loved one often doesn't have much control over what he or she does. The treatment and prevention of depression can be brought up in the discussions with others to help them understand the impact of the illness on the individual. The next point I will discuss is the treatment and prevention of depression can be limited to a certain extent. There are 2 main types of treatment for depression: talk therapy and medication. Talking with a trained therapist is one of the best treatments. Some people choose to be in therapy for several months to work on a few key issues. Other people find it helpful to continue in therapy for years, gradually working through larger problems. The choice is up to you and your therapist. Medicines are the other key treatment for depression. If one antidepressant doesn't work well, you might try a similar one or a different kind. Your doctor might also try changing the dose. In some cases, he or she might recommend taking more than one medication for depression. There are now many different antidepressants that a doctor can choose from. Tracy was diagnosed with depression and put on Zoloft. That was around the age of 27 when she hit rock bottom. Zoloft is one of medications that can be used to help treat depression. Tracy says that throughout the years she had to up her dose, but otherwise it seems to be controlling her depression. She said she still has days, but they are tolerable and most people can't tell. Depression gets overlooked, as how it is caused, the impact it has on others, and the little known treatment or prevention of the illness that can help. Along with Tracy, many individuals suffer from depression. Tracy is a co-worker of one of my parents, and my parent never knew Tracy had suffered from depression. Did you overlook depression? I hope that I have made you more aware of this silent illness and you can be more sensitive to your surroundings, as there could be someone suffering from depression disorder and you may not even know it.